Well, good morning, everybody. I'm calling in from the unceded territories of the Anishinaabe people here in Kawata, the Kawartha Lakes, in a little bit northeast of Toronto. It's called the Land of Reflections. And I want to pay attention to that it is Indigenous History Month, which is a bit of a misleading term, I feel, because there's a lot of history. But the fact that it's called Indigenous History Month, it very often is treated as something that's in the past, and it is really not. And when the unmarked graves of 215 children are found at the school of Kamloops, the fact that people react shocked to something of the history is actually the re-traumatizing that happens to Indigenous people, because they've been saying this for a long time, that there were abuse and murders, killings happening at the schools. So, and these are only 215 children that are found. There's going to be many more children that are going to be found at those residential schools. And how can we be prepared for future events, not to be shocked by something that Indigenous people already know, but how can we show up for Indigenous friends as allies and people that stand with them? Currently, I'm an uninvited visitor to those unceded lands. How can I become a welcome visitor? Indigenous people are very hospitable. They like visitors, but we need to be good visitors. So how can we be welcome visitors to those lands and true allies to our Indigenous partners? Thank you.
Bilqis, would you like to take us through some housekeeping just for everybody so they know how this is going to work today?
Yes, of course. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly here.
And thank you, everybody, for sharing from which unceded territories you're calling into, because it's important that we know and understand and are aware on whose land we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Bea, and thank you everyone for sharing. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping before we get started. So please be aware that this meeting is being recorded and parts of this webinar may be used in the future. Messages in the chat are not private and can be seen by all, so please be mindful and respectful. Today's Zoom meeting is a webinar, which means only the host can be seen. All participants will be muted at all times, so please use the Q&A icon to ask any questions you may have. The icon is located at the bottom of your screen. It should look like this. There is also a chat icon, which is also located at the bottom of your screen. Please use the chat icon for comments only. If you do, again, have any questions, we would appreciate it if you put it in the Q&A section and not in the chat. We do monitor the Q&A section at all times. If we are sharing screens like we are now, the host and the co-host will appear at the right-hand corner of your screen. This window may interfere with parts of the presentation. If that's the case, all you have to do is click on the minimize button, which is located at the top right-hand corner of your screen. It should look like this. And yeah, that's all that I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it back to Stephanie.
Okay, thank you, Bilqis. Again, just reiterating, if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the Q&A. That makes it a lot easier for us to monitor them and not miss any. I think we may have missed a couple last time because they were put in the chat and we were mostly monitoring the Q&A. So At this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to Brandon. We already have 3 questions in the Q&A, and I know you've also had some questions that we've gotten ahead of time, so I will let you take it from here.
And some of the questions that I'm seeing in the Q&A are actually already questions that were asked. So this is kind of perfect. It seems like we have a common thread of questions. So let's go ahead and get started. I would like to say that I'm coming live from the Alinker family farm, and this is the stolen territories of the Osage, Shawnees, and Cherokee tribes. Just really wanted to say that verbally. Thank you everyone for putting it into the chat. But let's go ahead and get started. I would like to go ahead and say before we begin that there are some incredible resources out there for all of our Alinker users. One of my favorites is the Alinker family Facebook group. If you're not a member of this group, I recommend, if you are an Alinker user, to look into this group, read the rules. There are rules to be in the group. It is for Alinker users to share information, and also Team Alinker is in there, but it always seems like our Alinker family gets to questions before we do. Thank you all so much for doing that. We also have our, oh man, that word just left me, online, what's the book with all of our stuff in it? Manual. Thank you, I found it. The manual. Okay, so online also, if you just Google Alinker's manual, there is online copies of it, and they're searchable. So if you have a question about a certain part of the Alinker, you can type that in and the pages will pop up. We also had a question about AFO use with the Alinker, foot drop with the Alinker, beginners tips and tricks. Again, the Alinker family page is the best place to ask those types of questions. I do have multiple sclerosis and foot drop, but I do not use AFOs. Those aren't questions that I can answer, but we do have AFO users and they are very successful. One person that comes to mind is Heather Goodwrench. She uses 2 AFOs and runs marathons and the longer ones. Man, I'm struggling with words today. She goes nonstop with her AFOs on her Alinker. So go to Alinker family, ask those questions there. You will get the best information you possibly can. All right, it is 12:10, perfect. So the first thing that I would like to go over is accessories. Someone had brought up if we sold accessories. We do not, but this is very similar to a bike. So almost every bike accessory, like cup holders, like baskets, will work for you. This is a basket that my wife uses on her Alinker. It's wicker, and it's just got 2 leather straps that go right over the handlebars. And it's simple. And a lot of baskets work well with the Alinker, but I recommend that you stay away from hard metal baskets as they can damage your Alinker. The fabric detachable ones that make it easy to put in and out of your trunk and to fold up will better suit you in being able to use your Alinker every day without having to add more work into folding it and putting it away and bringing it with you. Someone also asked if this is with the accessory question, they asked if this was a medical device. We are a mobility device. So if you're asked in a store or something, you just say, this is my mobility device. This is how I move. Again, seeing more stuff about the brake. So if we have no questions about accessories, that's also a great question to ask on Alinker family, because people have really tricked out their Alinkers. They have cup holders, cane holders, different detachable bags. So ask for sure on Alinker family if you're looking for accessories. So with the brake, I've done a little bit more research because this seems to be something that people need to do on their own at home. I had always adjusted on the back tire of the Alinker, but last webinar, I learned something too, which is that the handle, the brake lever actually has an adjuster in it here too. So if your brake will not park, the parking brake, I've went ahead and adjusted this one to where it's not working. So when I pull the lever, and I try to push the parking brake, it's not working, even if I do it really hard. So let me see if I can get this close. Here we go. All right, so you've got two different screws here. And they both sit on the same bolt that runs through the handle. And they are a spacer. So if you take this first nut, washer, whatever you want to call it, and you screw it back off against that, then the whole thing will turn into the handle, into the brake lever. So what that does is that actually adjusts the brake. And now when I go to pull the brake lever, the parking brake will set. Now this is one way to adjust it. Again, you just turn it and then you have this set thing. So you'll push it out against that until it gets tight. And that's how you adjust it here. It's kind of hard to see. I wish I could sit in a room with everybody, but it's two screws and you just kind of mess with them until you see how it's working. If you go in, that's loosening the brake. If you go out, that will tighten it. So if your parking brake isn't set, your goal, it won't set. Your goal is to get this as far as you possibly can in. So I'm gonna take this one all the way in. Now it's tight all the way up against it. And that parking brake is gonna set for me just, well, it's harder off the Alinker. Parking brake set. So we went from not setting to setting just by adjusting here. Now in a case where you don't have the adjustment space here, you're gonna have to get your handy dandy Allen key set out. The Alinker does come with them, but I recommend having extras on hand because there's something that's easy to lose, it's small. All right. So now we're gonna be going to the back of the Alinker where we can see that the cable has run all the way from the handlebar through the Alinker frame, and now it's come down to the back tire where there's a spring, and then we see the end of the cable. So this is the opposite end of the cable from the handlebar, and in that little space there, there's an Allen key. Little screw that the Allen key goes onto, and all we do, if I've got the right size one, we take and we loosen this up. I didn't have the right size one. This is very difficult to hold and do. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna take and loosen this upside down. Okay, so this is release the tension off of the brake line. And now when I give this cable a little pull, it'll come out a little bit more. So this cable will go up towards the handlebar. After I pushed it a little bit, I'll tighten it back up. And after you tighten it, then you can go back up to your brake and do the final adjustments in that first thing I showed you. So you've got two places again to adjust your brake. You've got one here up on the handle. This is what I would call like your final adjustments to where you can really fine tune your brake. If you're someone that has issues squeezing the brake, not only can you adjust your brake, but you can adjust where your brake lever is. So if your left hand is stronger than your right hand, for me, that is the case. My left hand is weaker. You can put your brake pedal onto the opposite sides of the Alinker, and that would have been something great to be able to show. But it's just one screw here. Go ahead, B.
Just a little note that if the brake cable is too tight, the back wheel adjustment to give a little bit more space on the cable is the first thing to do. If the cable is too tight, don't put a wrench or something on the first adjustment thing on the handlebar, because that's only to tighten it up once the brake cable is loose enough. So start with loosening up the cable at the back wheel that you just showed. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so as B just said, we start in the back, do the loosening there, and then do our final adjustments up here on the brake lever. This is something that you're still struggling with. Please go to alinker.com, reach out through email. We can get with you to help you with this. This is something that is necessary. You do not want to leave your Alinker without the parking brakes set because it could just roll away from you, out attention traffic, anything. So any questions about adjusting the brake? And I also have a brake pad here to show everybody. This is off of mine. And you would look at that and think that that's no good, but in fact it is. There is a little lip here, and until that lip is completely smooth, I would say that this brake pad is still working. So if you see wear and tear and you see exposed metal, that doesn't mean that the brake pad is bad. That just means that you're up and moving.
And how much time did it take for you to wear the brake pad down to that point?
2 years. And I'm a big guy who goes up and down hills all the time. So unless you're Heather Goodbranch or Kevin Suffren, I don't think that you'll ever need to be replacing your brake pad unless you're doing miles and miles a day. And kudos to you if you are doing that, because that is incredible. Q&A, let's see. I don't want to leave the brake section until we've answered all questions. So if you have a question about your brake, please let us know. My parking brake doesn't want to stay down to lock. Show me how to troubleshoot. We did that. Let's go ahead and move on. We had a question about helmets, and I think this is a great topic to talk about. Helmets are an accessory that you can use to be 100% safe. My first thing that I would say is to really obey the 3 mile-an-hour speed limit. This is going to keep you at walking speed, and it's very dangerous to exceed the speed limit without a helmet. If you're someone that's going to be out and running at a full sprint, going above the recommended speed limit, yeah, helmet might be great for you. I don't have any recommendations for helmets, but I'm sure there are plenty good ones out there. Janet Motes asked if there are any other seat options. What's great about the Alinker is that it is completely changeable. You just remove this from the seat pin and any aftermarket seat could go on it. I highly recommend that you give this seat time to adjust to it. I have tried other seats. I have had my Alinker for over 2 years now. I am back to the stock seat. I will never leave it. It is perfectly designed for your feet to go to the floor and to be up and moving. Anything wider is going to impair your legs' abilities to move. You're going to end up rubbing your thighs. It's going to create discomfort. And where there's discomfort, you're going to leave and go to comfort. And then all of a sudden, your Alinker's sitting, you're not up and moving. So yes, please give the stock seat a good chance and really work at it. I also have what I call my concert seat. It is wider. It doesn't have a nose on it. It's super comfortable. I can sit there for forever, stationary in one spot, but it is so difficult to move with it. I feel like I'm just tiptoeing because I can't move my legs all the way back to the back tire. So that is something that I would carry with me and put on if I was going to a concert or going to some kind of event where I'm going to be standing for a long period of time. But if you are using the Alinker to be up and moving, running a marathon, anything like that, this seat is on the Alinker for a reason. It works great. So yes, you can use other seats, but I recommend our seat. Yes, B.
On the seat, and that's a returning issue because it's not a bike and people think it's a bike seat, you sit on it as a bike seat. But what is super important, and this is for the new users here, you will notice that the seat of the Alinker is tipped up a little bit when it comes out of the factory. That is by design, and that is purposely so, because it sort of forces you to sit on the back edge with your sit bones on the back edge of the seat. So your pelvis tilts a little bit, it opens up your spine. And because you sit on the back and you tilt back a little bit, there's no pressure on your front. And you can lean forward a little bit and get a good straight. In the Netherlands, we say you have to brake in your butt. You don't break in the seat, but you break in your butt. It takes time to get used to it, especially if you're somebody that has never used a bike. And I'm from the Netherlands. We're nearly born on bikes, but in North America, there's quite a lot of people that have never used bicycles and will find it challenging to get used to the seat. Give it time, your butt will break in, especially when you sit on the back edge of the seat. With your sit bones, that's the structure of your body. And some people say, like, I'm heavy built, I'm a larger person, can I get a wider seat? That's not structure. The structure is your sit bones, and there's a space in the back of the seat where your tailbone doesn't get pressure. So this seat is really, we've done a lot of research over the years to get to this seat. Give it time. And don't overdo it, don't hurt yourself. Do a little bit every time, get used to it, and break in your butt.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that I say to people that are saying I'm having trouble with my seat or I'm having trouble moving, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Don't set a higher goal. Just do that. Eventually, you will find yourself out for 15 minutes, and then the next day you'll be out for 30. When you push yourself, you can end up using up all your spoons. We have a lot of people in the chronic illness world that are aware of the spoonie theory. We don't have a glass of energy every day. We have a couple spoons. And if we use all those, then we have to start borrowing from tomorrow's spoons. So if you use too much energy on today, tomorrow you're going to be sore. You're not going to be able to be up and moving. Just listen to your body, give it time. And yes, the seat. Speaking of the seat, I brought one of these. The seat clamps. We'll go ahead and go over this. I've had a couple more emails about the seat moving. This is just like on a bicycle. This is what holds your seat into place. And what's happening is when people are putting their seat in and they're putting the clamp on, it's not tight enough. And that's allowing the seat to rotate. So to tighten this, all we do is simply open the lever, go to the screw on the other side, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So if you need to loosen it up, go left. If you need to tighten it, go right. And then just put the clamp down on it and then see if the seat moves. If the seat's still moving, then go righty tighty again. Now, eventually, if you go too far, this seat clamp will not close. And please, please do not bang on it or push extra hard to get this to close. You will damage your Alinker, you will void your warranty. Please do not beat up on this. Just simply open it again, back it off a little bit, lefty loosey, until that closes. It's something that if you over tighten it and beat on it, you can actually damage the Alinker, not just the seat clamp, but the Alinker where the seat goes down into it. How about replacing parts, wheels, brake pads, etc.? If you wear out a brake pad, please let us know, because you are an incredible Alinker user who's been out and moving, and we want to talk to you. So if you need a brake pad, please reach out to us. But yes, we have people in the community who are putting different tires on the Alinker. I've seen foam inserts for the front tires. Alinker Family on the Facebook page is a great place to learn about these accessories. Unfortunately, we haven't got to test these other accessories that people are using on the Alinker, so we can't recommend them because it could actually be damaging the Alinker or not correct for it. But Alinker users use them. You can reach out to them and ask. And I've heard some good things about the front tire foam that you don't have to put air in them. Let's see. Tire pressures, yes. So the tire pressures in the manual are set to, I think, 35 or 32. We have users that use them every day that go up as high as 50. I looked online at what these tires are actually rated for, and it is up to 45 or 50. I recommend not really using a PSI gauge and number. I recommend, this is what I personally do, is just pumping up the tires until they're really tight, back tires and front tires. not so tight that it feels like it's going to explode, but you don't want any kind of sponge in the Alinker seat, because any kind of sponge, if it's squishy at all, not only does that add friction, which makes it harder to move and it's going to require more energy, but if you run on a low tire, you can actually damage the tubes inside of them, especially the back tube, as it takes on most of the weight of the person on the Alinker. You need to make sure that that's aired up, and if it's low, do not continue to move on it, because you can pinch the tube and that can cause a leak. And yes, sign up for the newsletter if you're excited about that rear tire, the airless one that Alinker is going to be releasing. Things are very versatile in the manufacturing world, so it's really hard to give a definitive date. That's why I'm saying sign up for the newsletter, because the second we have a day, we will put it there. Kevin says the biggest problem people have moving the Alinker under inflated tires specifies 36 PSI. Once I went to 90 PSI, Kevin, you try it all. That is awesome. But 45 PSI in the front tires is what jogging stroller tires are rated at. So this is something that I have taken on for my Alinker, and running it at 45 PSI is great for me. But it really depends on the person and the user. Yes, Pete?
The maximum tire pressure is on the tires, and Kevin is over pressuring them. And I hear what you say, Kevin, and by putting too much pressure in the tires, you will not explode them, because there's a safety thing in there. But if you overpressure them, they will actually be overpressured and start losing air faster. So you can do what what you want to do with that, but that means that you have to pump them up every day, because you overpressure them. The minimum pressure is what we indicated in the manual. The maximum pressure is on the tires, and that is the official thing. What you experiment yourself, that's all good, but that's the official Alinker guidelines on the tire pressure.
And B, while you're still here talking, someone asked about an e-bike boost, something to help going up hills. And I have seen a device that's used on wheelchairs that someone's used on Alinkers, and I can't remember what it's called.
It's called right.
I remember it, but it's cool.
I do have some comments about that, because if that's why I'm not a big fan of even exploring that. I get it that people go up the hill and need a little bit support. I get that. And the moment you've got a motorized device on the Alinker, or you motorize the Alinker, you put your feet up, and then you elevate the gravity point, making the Alinker more dangerous, because you don't have the feet on the ground to catch yourself, and you elevate your gravity point, making it more tippy. So I'm really not a big fan of understanding that people need a little bit of push going up a hill. But anything that I've seen out there, and we really have looked, because I do understand that that's a thing that people sometimes look for. The only thing that we're exploring right now is something that I can't disclose yet, because it's not going to happen. I do not want to be, as a company, because it increases the liability a lot, and would be very expensive, probably more expensive than the Alinker itself. I don't want to be in that industry. So as Alinker, I don't think we're ever going to truly engage in electrifying the Alinker, or recommending anything to motorize your Alinker. What you do in your own, and that's what the Alinker family group is for on Facebook. That's where people, that's not Alinker recommendations, that's where people exchange information on what they do. But that goes outside the recommendations of the Alinker company as such.
Monica said that she has trouble moving forward. I can move backward. Anything I can do to help? Keep going backwards is what I have to say. I have seen many users who start off as the only direction they can go is backward. And then as they build leg muscles, they start to pull themselves forward. Yes, B.
It's not just the muscles that you build when you start moving, it's giving your brain the signals that something is moving downstairs. So the moment I've seen people that, one particular case I'm thinking about now, a man who was sitting in an electric wheelchair waiting, weeks waiting before they would start rehabilitation. He was incomplete quadriplegic. He wanted to try the Alinker, and he got on the Alinker. Well, the physiotherapist said like, oh, that will never work for him. And I was like, who are you? Like, he wants to try. So he got on it and he started pushing backwards, because that's like, he couldn't make the stride. He had been sitting there for 6 weeks waiting for rehabilitation to start. So he started pushing backwards, and the physiotherapist was like, huh, that's more than not moving at all. And once he did that for a while, I saw something happening in his brain, and he was like, oh, and I said, can I just try something? And I pushed him forward and lifted his knees forward as I pushed his Alinker forward. And because his legs were moving, his brain got the information of legs moving. This is the feedback loop that is really important to understand when using the Alinker, because that's exactly what it does. It gives your brain the information that it needs to start powering your legs again. So any movement, and in the beginning, maybe just sitting on the Alinker, because that opens up your spine already, and the feedback, oh, something is happening, because you exert pressure on your sit bones as your legs are moving, or you're moving on it. So allow your brain to get the information, even if it's slowly moving backwards to start with.
And there are tons of stationary exercises that you can do on Alinker, on the Alinker. The Alinker Academy has done an incredible job of consolidating all of these different exercises into video form. And I'm not sure if we have any updated news on that, but I believe that the Alinker Academy is soon going to be even more accessible to everyone.
Well, I've got some news on that, because I have just finished uploading all the instruction videos, and I'm going to share them, the link here right now, because that's available for everybody now. They're short exercises, half a minute, 40 seconds, a minute or something, quick introduction, what it does. Take it, and then you can do this stationary in your home. There's also exercises for range of motion, because range of motion is good to open up your joints, hands, upper body, lower body. There's all sorts of range of motion. I think it's 82 videos or something right now. I'm not sure. But have a look, as we're migrating the whole Alinker Academy to YouTube. And in the newsletters, I will further announce, but on the 24th of June, we are presenting, we're selected by YouTube themselves on a SmallBIZday that they do, to present half an hour live the Alinker online. And I would love for you to attend there and give comments and engage with us and whatever, because that causes a lot of traction. And we're officially announcing the Alinker Academy there. I will be in the Liquid Gym in Ottawa when that happens. And I will have Donna and Karen with me to do an introduction about what yoga is on the Alinker, what the Alinker Academy is, as we migrate the whole Alinker Academy to YouTube, because the platform that it's on now, it's a bit cumbersome. And we're going to do live classes that you can live join YouTube as we do a yoga class, and that's going to happen in July, August, or something after that. There's a lot of logistics around it, obviously, but this link that I just shared is the first 80 or something videos, 77, I think it was, small instructions. They're super useful, especially when you're a new Alinker user. Watch them, sit on your Alinker, and do those exercises. And that's a way before you go out in really challenging territory or something, to get familiar with like, oh, where's the gravity point? How can I get familiar on the seat? How can I get my legs moving before you go out on more challenging sidewalks that are sloping and stuff like that. So really use that link. It's all free now. And yeah, we're excited to take the Alinker Academy to something that is going to be live too. Thank you.
And just so folks know, B, if you're on a device where it's hard for you to click on that link right now, and that way you will have access to that link.
And I'll put it in the newsletter this weekend, which will probably be Saturday, because Friday I'm for the dry run in Ottawa too. So Saturday in the newsletter, this link I will be sharing for the Alinker Academy videos.
Will there be a link that we will be able to share for the Small Business Day, for where people can jump in and see that live?
Yes, that was shared in last week's. I will put it in every newsletter. The SmallBIZday itself. Let's see. I think I've got a link here.
Because we want everyone to show up and be commenting. We want to show what the Alinker family is all about. So we would really appreciate everyone coming.
Yeah, this is the page, their web page, on which we're announced as one of the ads, one of the half-hour presentations. But check it out. It's going to be a fun day, and yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you on live there.
Be in relation to the Academy, somebody's asking, is there a cost?
No, this all what we're putting on YouTube is free. What we will do is have some kind of subscription, we don't know yet, on the live classes in YouTube, that the people who can't afford it, because it has quite a cost to it to develop all this stuff. For now, it's just our cost. And some people have signed up for all the classes that were there too. But what's on YouTube right now is free.
Thank you.
See another question. Well, it's kind of a statement. It said it also depends on the temperature in the car. It's something that I've noticed. We are getting into summer months. When it gets hot, it changes the pressure inside of the tire. So make sure that you have a mobile air pump. Hand pump, electric pumps are really nice, because yes, this is something that bicyclists have to deal with every day. If the drastic temperature change happens, then the tire pressure will change. So definitely, if biking isn't something you're familiar with, this is something that you'll have to do, is keep a little pump with you when the temperature changes drastically during the day.
And if you pump up your tires really hard, like harder than the maximum, and then you leave them in a hot car, they might actually explode. So be careful with that.
I'm going to say, I see a question kind of in related to, we were talking about moving and moving backwards and those kinds of things. And there is a question in there as well on moving on carpet.
So any kind of surface that isn't hard, like a Kroger's, inside of a grocery store, you've got the hard tile. You have less friction, so you're not having to push as much to get movement. And then once you get inertia built up, you roll farther because friction isn't slowing you down. If you go into grass, into gravel, and carpet, any of those things, it is going to be harder to move. If you're starting out on carpet, you have the perfect link now that B just shared, that's going to give you upwards of 80 different exercises that you can be doing stationary. I don't know if they're all stationary, but a good majority of them can be done stationary on the carpet. As you do these exercises, as you build range of motion, as you reactivate your brain, as you are in a standing position while you're doing exercising, eventually that carpet's not going to be so hard to move on. It really takes work. But that's why this vehicle for change is what it is. It's that vehicle that allows the work to be done. So yes, carpet will be a little bit more difficult to move on, and grass, if it's tall, can be unbearable sometimes. So yes, the harder the surface, the easier it is. If you have access to a less crowded mall, we have a mall not too far from us that is pretty much empty but stays open for some reason, and you see people speed walking and jogging inside of it. That is where I went and got my Alinker legs to learn how to use it, to learn my tipping points on a hard surface, preferably air conditioned. That's what I love about doing it in a mall. I'm heat intolerant. That allows you to work up to the uneven surfaces, to softer surfaces that are going to require more effort. So yes, Leslie says, I will be traveling in August. Do you have any tip for airline travel? So unfortunately for the chronic illness and the disabled communities, traveling with mobility devices in airports can be from one extreme to the other. There's so many wheelchairs that are damaged and things. I recommend treating it exactly like a wheelchair. You roll up to the door. I haven't personally done this. This is from users' experiences. They have a special spot in the airplane that they roll it up to. I don't recommend putting it in a duffel because you're going to need it to get to the airplane. And they already have things in place to take mobility devices and put them on a part of the airplane. Yes, B. She's traveled with an Alinker.
Many times, and many people that I know as well. What you do is you kindly explain to people that this is your walk assist, and you do not want to use one of their wheelchairs and be pushed around in the airport, and that you will take this up to the plane itself through the gate. They will then, sometimes they're a little bit like, most of the time people are really curious, like, wow, what is this? And amazing. And I can totally see that you want to be on this thing instead of being pushed around in a wheelchair. And in the wheelchairs in the airport, you have to be pushed around because they don't have the wheels that you can propel yourself. That's why I'm saying being pushed around, literally. Then they will, generally, they want to put a tag on your thing and give you the other side of the slip. That's fine. That's what they do with baby strollers as well. You take it all the way up to the gate. They might have some dogs sniffing on it to see if you stowed away some illegal stuff. That's fine too. Say hi to the dogs, and then they will not put it through the X-ray machine. Because it's a walk assist, they don't do that with walk assist. They might damage the X-ray machines. What you do is sometimes get a cane. They will offer you a cane if you go through the gate and the Alinker has to be taken around it. If you can really not walk, you say like, I can really not walk. I really need this too. They will take you around the gate. They will have to take you around the gate. That's ADA requirements. So then you take it all the way to the gate. And as you enter the airplane, you have to be able to walk a little bit then, because then you fold up the Alinker, leave it, don't take anything off, just fold it up, leave it with the baby strollers and the excess baggage that also needs to be put in the hold. They will take it down, put it in the hold, and it will be the most undamaged way that you can do the Alinker. The times that the Alinker has been damaged is when people checked it in. They lost it or got really damaged. So don't check it in and don't take their guidance on checking it in. It will cause problems. Nearly standard. And then when you get out of the airplane, you're probably asked to wait till at the chair at the door or something. They will take it up, you unfold it, and you roll away.
Thank you so much. It's so much better to hear it firsthand. Everything I was saying was just things that I had heard. But super excited to be able to travel with my Alinker and be on a plane with it, and looking forward to that. Heather said something about her kickstand, not the kickstand, the stand falling off. I have had one of the screws fall off, and I think that this is reserved for the Alinker users that are really putting the miles on it and hitting bumps and bouncing around. Bolts can come or loosen up, so that's something that you can check. but Heather, definitely reach out to me and we'll get you squared away. I actually have extra ones here if you've lost it. I'm not sure if you lost it or if it just fell off in your house. But yes, some Loctite is an incredible thing too. If you have a bolt that's loosening, you put a little bit of blue Loctite on it, and when you screw it in, it holds it in better.
And generally in the factory on all the screws, there is a little bit of blue glue. They call that, not really Loctite, but it's blue glue. They try to be very careful with that because once the blue glue hits the yellow paint, it stains. So sometimes they're a little bit too careful with it, and then there's not enough blue glue on the screws, and then when you use it really heavily, the screws undo. So in general, what I do when I take the Alinker out is just quickly look at all the screws. Like what I do with my bicycle, like, is everything still in order? What you do with your car, like, well,
pre-trip.
Yeah, just a quick, not every morning, obviously, but just check it once in a while, like if everything is still tight, because that does happen, I've noticed. And that's something that we're trying to fix. That's one of those quality assurance things in the factory that is really hard to monitor, because they said, like, we don't want to change the stain the yellow, which I get, especially in the hinge that happens. And I don't want to have not enough blue glue so that the screws undo. But you know, there's a bit of so check them once in a while.
Things you never think of. Manufacturing world is a funny place. Can you inflate the tires using a special pump device? Does a small compressor for car tires work? This is like any other valve stem in your car tire, bike tires, even some pressurized tanks. You can use any kind of pump, but you can overpressure them. So there's something called a bead seeder. It's just a tank that you can use, and they go up to 120 PSI. And if you took that and stuck it to a back tire, it would probably pop it. But most air pumps have a setting where you can set it, like you can take your Alinker and go to any gas station. They have the little quarter machines, and then you push the buttons to set the PSI, and that will work right on your Alinker. I have done that before, going to the grocery store a couple times to get in the car and like, oh, I need to check my tire pressure. I don't have my pump. Just pull over at a gas station and you put a couple quarters in and air up your tires. And about the link for the YouTube videos, B said that she will be putting that in the next newsletter. So we won't be sending out any special emails or anything, but make sure you're signed up for the newsletter so you can have that link. Also, you can save it in the chat, as Stephanie said.
And while we're on tires, I know we went over this in the last seminar, but there is somebody asking, are the back tires or are the front tires interchangeable? So you may want to just touch on that real quickly.
They are not. There is a forward. It is marked on your tire, and that lets you know which way you're supposed to have the tires facing.
It's not super interesting and not super important. I mean, they're little V's, and it's more if you're trailing through the rain, that the rain sort of flies out that way instead of that way. But it's you know, officially those things have to move forward, but you can do the left and the right on both sides. It really doesn't matter that much. It doesn't damage the wheel, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I do not look, to be completely honest with everyone here. I do not look. Now, if I'm going to run a marathon in the rain, you want the water to be thrown the right way. I completely agree with that. But yeah, it does say which way it goes on it, though. Recommended PSI for the tires. Well, it's on it. I'm pretty sure it's 36 PSI. Inflate to 35 PSI. So it's in little black letters. You're not gonna be able to see it here, but you can look on your tires if you forget, which I forget everything always, which is great that it's literally written on your tire for you. Yes. Let's see, more questions. Do you recommend hard or solid tire on the back? Patty signed up for the newsletter because the work has already been done to create a new back tire for the Alinker that is solid, it is airless, but it also allows you to have the cushion that a tubed air tire has. And that's the problem with these aftermarket ones that people are buying from Amazon. They're hard as a rock, and you're going to feel that, and your Alinker is going to feel that. But with our tire that we'll be releasing, that will not be an issue.
The latest on that is that they're probably being shipped to Taiwan because they're manufactured in China, the tires, the new tires. They're shipping them to Taiwan by the end of June is the latest expectancy. But that stuff in Taiwan is crazy at the moment, and it's really hard to get proper dates. So don't hold me to anything yet until I release the date in the newsletter, and then we will put the tires for cost plus a little bit on the website.
Patty said, Brandon, personal question. Have you had any increase in mobility with having MS? Patty, when I found the Alinker, I spent almost all of my time indoors. I used to watch my children play outside out of windows. Yes, I can use my Alinker and I can do more on my Alinker. But one of the biggest things that I've noticed is my ability to get around the house, my ability to walk out into the front yard where the kids are playing without my Alinker. So when you use the Alinker and you start to not only build muscles, but reactivate your brain, you're also building up stamina to be able to move on your own. This isn't the same for every condition. With multiple sclerosis, I've noticed that through reactivating my brain and building muscle, and also wellness and what you're thinking and feeling in your head has a lot to do with how much gumption you're going to have in that day. And I've noticed that with Alinker and with my ability to get out and move, I'm happier. And when I'm happier, I feel like I'm able to do more throughout the day.
I just saw that that Allison Bonanno shared something. Maybe if Allison wants to, can you make her a panelist and she can share a little bit about that? Is that possible? Allison, if you want to, if that's okay, because that is really crucial information that you just shared that totally relates to this question, like, can you do more? Is your mobility increased? And is Allison still online? Oh, there we go. Yeah. And Allison, you have to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Yeah, I just saw my neurologist yesterday, and I've been using the Alinker, I think it's almost 2 years when it was first available. And they first didn't think it would do much, but they thought it'd be good for me to move. But I've improved, and my neurologist yesterday explained how the brain, the scars never go away, but if you have MS, you can create new pathways, and it's called plasticity. And she said that that's what's going on. That's why I'm doing much better. And I've been running every day. And I took on a new challenge to run 90K in 90 days. And I'm already halfway through in 3 weeks because I'm addicted to running at night on the Alinker. And I watch my shadow.
Anyone else
There's no
covered
one
in
around here
goosebumps?
that does this. Yeah, it's amazing just to keep going. And I'm by myself, so I push myself. But I am so grateful for the Alinker because it has changed my whole life completely. And when she explained that that's what's going on, she says, she can't say the scars will never go away, but the fact that I can retrain my brain to move and do things. And like you explained earlier, I feel happier when I'm outside, and I can go out walking without my Alinker, and I'm more stable. I haven't had a fall in a whole year, which is unbelievable for me. So that's all I've got to say, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
That's fantastic, Allison. Thank you so much. And it's really important for people to hear that I can say that, like, oh, your brain and neural pathways and stuff, but the lived experience and that your neurologist recognizes that, how much that does over time is really, really essential. And yeah, thank you for sharing.
And at first she didn't know. She's always encouraging to do, to keep on trying. And oh, actually, I told her yesterday, I started like sparring, but I'm not, or boxing, because my physical therapist said people with MS or Parkinson's, the more you throw punches going right and left, you train your brain to do things. And that's the Alinker, as you went to push the legs, just to move it forwards and backwards, your brain learns a new thing. So thank you, B, for everything.
Thank you, Allison.
I'm just so grateful. Okay.
Thank
And
I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
I am just
That is
so
why we're
grateful
here.
that medical people start recognizing what it does, because we have somebody who's a professor at Stanford who uses an Alinker in the orthopedic section with her orthopedic surgeon, who's also a professor at Stanford, wanting to do now research, because like it's not a medical device and the medical world is not set up for the wellness of people. And the whole thing about activating your brain and neural pathways is not something that makes money to the medical world. So it's completely underserved as, as a thing. So I'm very, very happy that people in the medical world start recognizing what this does. That's so good. That's so good. Thanks, Allison.
Heather, who is also an Alinker user and an MS warrior, said, "Tell her I want to hug her, please." I think Heather sees a lot of herself in Allison, and I think there's a lot more like both of them in our community, and I can't wait to meet every single one of you. Please speak up if you have anything like that. Allison, that was incredible. It was so amazing to meet you. And you've inspired me to push a little harder and look into boxing. I never thought about that. Left to right. Wow.
We'll start including, and Asma says that we'll start including boxing on the Alinker in the Alinker Academy. We'll do boxing classes on the Alinker. Let's do the whole thing. Let's go all the way.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we are about at the hour, and I think we've answered just about every question. A couple questions about the status of the Happy Smalls, but I think B, you'll be putting that in the newsletter as it comes available. So guys, just make sure you're signed up for the newsletter and keep your eyes out.
There's 100 Happy Smalls that we were able to squish into the next batch that is going to be produced in 2022. But, and the situation in Taiwan with China, with COVID, nothing is sure at the moment. So somewhere in 2022, there's 100 Happy Smalls in the 1,000 order that we have. Does it happen? We don't know. We'll see, but we'll keep you posted.
Stay tuned. All right, guys. This webinar was recorded, and I believe we will be sharing that in a future newsletter. And someone also asked, because they came in late, and they haven't gotten their Alinker yet, do we do these with any frequency? And yes, at the moment, we are currently doing them once a month. So again, keep your eyes out on the newsletter because the next one, the date for that will be announced in the newsletter.
And the recording of this seminar I will put on YouTube, where I can also include the closed captioning, so you can actually have a transcript of the recording, not so much as a whole full transcript that went wrong the last time. I don't have that transcript, but on YouTube you can click on closed captioning and you get the subtitles as you go.
Perfect. All right, guys, so if there are any questions that we did not get to, we will be reviewing the Q&A on this to make sure if there's anything that we missed that we address it in the next seminar. So
there's a question how you sign up for the newsletter. Just go to alinker.com and go to community newsletter, click, there's also the whole archive of all the newsletters in the sign up page. So alinker.com, then go in the top menu to community. Under community, it says newsletter. Click on that. You can sign up and see the whole archive.
I think you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page to do the sign up. So when you look at the page, if you don't see it right away, just keep scrolling down, you'll find it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you, wonderful Alinker family, for being here and for your questions. We are happy to be here to answer them. We love that you feel free to come here and ask your questions. We want you to get the most out of your Alinker, so we will be doing this again next month.
And if you have anything that you want me to share in the newsletters, I'm compiling the news. I'm doing the newsletters every week, and I really enjoy that. And I enjoy when people share, like Allison just had a share. That to me is the juice of what we're doing, to see the effect and the impact on people. And if you want to share, send it to me, Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A @thealinker.com. To share with me with a picture or a video and a bit of text, then I'll add that to the newsletters. Thank you.
Yeah, we love your stories, so share them, please. All right, guys. Well, thank you for another wonderful webinar. Brandon, thank you for all the hard work you put in for preparing for the questions. Bea, thank you for being here, for your input. Bilqis, thank you for all you do to keep us running smoothly. So
and thank you, Stephanie, for holding this whole space and being the host.
All right. We will see you back here in a month. So
just keep linking. See everyone.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.